What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Puro Piche Party. Today we're gonna have a little different episode, more about family. In every Mexican family, there are stories. Some told over café con pan, some usually whispered over, a few couple tragos, and some that are buried deep, a secret wound nobody wants to touch. Today I have my prima Edith. In a little bit, my primo Isel was gonna chime in, and recently I feel like you brought up something to my attention that came to your attention not too long ago. You said you had a brother, somebody that you never met from your dad, and that's crazy. Me personally, I have four brothers, and even then I feel like I have more siblings, but it's kind of weird to say that, it's more like a Mexican type of thing that we always make that joke, like, oh yeah, maybe I have more brothers here and there, but this is literally legit, like what happened to you,
Literally.
You being an adult and it coming up, like what were your feelings?
Well, growing up, my dad would always, he would have a couple chelas and, would always be like, oh, you have a brother, out there. But I always thought it was just,
it was just chela talk.
It was just chela talk, and recently, he sat me down and he's like,
Recently?
Yeah, like maybe I'm going to say, not even like about a year ago, I'm going to say.
Okay.
He was like, you know what, I need to tell you something, And I was like, yeah. He's like, you have a brother. And I'm the oldest, growing up in a Hispanic household, being the oldest.
So you had to take everybody, everybody had to listen to you. You had to keep everybody in check because everybody else was working and all that stuff.
So, I just literally recently found out, and being the older sibling, I was always like, it not sounds funny, but I always felt like there was someone, I had someone out there. Like I always, even like my mom will tell you, like I always tell her, Mom, are you sure I'm the oldest? And yeah, I'm like, ay, es que yo quisiera tener un hermano más grande. I wish I had an older sibling.
Yeah.
And
because it's usually in the Mexican household, the oldest always has the stress of taking care of everybody, and just I don't know. Maybe it's people are gonna get offended, but who cares, But being a woman, you feel it's the mother role.
Yeah. If you ask my siblings now, they'll tell you, I was their second mom. I watched my brother and I were 7 years apart, and then my sister and I were 13 years apart.
That's a pretty big gap.
Yeah.
That's almost like niece to nephew, or uncle to nephew type stuff.
Literally, yeah. So basically, from a very young age, I took the responsibility of watching them, and I always had like I don't know how to say, an anhelo, like, oh man, if only I had an older sibling. And I guess when I found out about this situation, I didn't take it too hard. Like, maybe my thoughts are in the wrong spot. Like, I felt more like betrayed with like my family. I felt like, man, like my primas knew.
Oh, you have older primas?
Yeah, like primas that I grew up with.
But do you think they knew?
Oh no, they did.
Did they?
They did. I talked to one of my nephews, and he was like, I gotta let you know, everybody knew. And I was like,
so you're saying you didn't believe her right away?
No, I didn't. Like at first I was just like, oh, where are the cameras? I'm being punked.
Ashton.
where that? No, but that's actually for real. It was real, and I actually recently talked to him on Mother's Day.
So where's he from?
He's from California.
Okay.
Close to San Diego. His name is Tony. I don't know if my feelings are like, I don't blame my dad. I don't hold anything against him. Maybe it's because it's my older sibling, my older thinking,
Well, it's your blood. Essentially, it's your blood.
I just take it as my family just got bigger.
Yeah.
That's how I take it as.
What was your initial reaction? Obviously, you said little surprise, little this and that, but it's like I said, it's always a bunch of stories that you hear, little goofy things or whatever, but like,
Yeah. Yeah, well,
all hearsay, but like I said, that's somebody that always wanted an older sibling. Me, I got 4 older brothers, and I love them, you know. And it's like, don't tell them that I love them, because they'll beat me up. But you know, like I said, all that to get it, even as a older Mexican mother, and you know, all that, you have your kids that are damn near teenagers. They're teenagers, you know, and for you to go through all that, what they're going through right now, for you to go through it as an adult, like what does that feel like? Like for me, if I were to find out that I have a brother that's even older than my older brother, I honestly wouldn't even know, because my age gap to my oldest brother is like 12, 13 years, and even then I'm like, we're still tight. I love that motherfucker, and I'll do whatever that I can for him. But like, a lot of secrets are like either kept from you, or they're kept from both of you. And right now, like I feel like if it was to be, if I was in your situation, I feel like it'd be kept from both of us, or maybe they knew, because when you're in America, you know, you always think that, oh, they got the better life, and they kind of, maybe they'll hold a grudge against you, or whatever, you know, whatever the hell that is, and maybe I'll accept it, but I don't know. You have a better relationship with your father than I would say that I have, you know. But you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's a crazy situation, and for you to handle all that on top of you being the oldest sister and seeing what your brother and sister have to go through, like that shit's crazy. Like, do they confide in you to be like, oh, you know, hey, is this shit legit, or you know, what?
They have their own opinions on it. They, you know, I'm no one. I always say, like, I'm no one to judge. You know, only my dad knows how heavy that secret was to carry throughout these years. I mean, I'm about to be 35, and he's older than me. You know, he's 6 years older than me. So that's something to carry heavy in your heart, you know. So only he knows, and the only answers that he's gonna have to give to is going to be to my brother, because I'm pretty sure he has questions too.
Well, yeah, you know, like being the older man of the house, and then to find out that there's a even older man that was, you know, just different responsibilities, and to be like, oh, there's somebody else, like there's all those questions, like, were you in contact with this person, or I don't know, would you say that changes your narrative or prerogative against your dad? Like, do you think of him as a better man, a worse man, or just somebody that you feel like, because nowadays, excuse me, there's a lot of relationships where people have kids and they have other relationships, and you know, as long as they keep in touch and be a good parent, whether it's mother or father, I think that's fine. But like, knowing all that and raising teenage, preteen kids, would you say that he took the right way or the wrong way? Like, what would you say? Like, do you think less or more of him, or you're just more because you're older, like thinking like, hey, this is what he had to do?
At the end of the day, I feel like that's something that he had to do. Only he knows why he didn't tell us, and I you know, even now when I talk to him, I feel like maybe I'm not asking him the right questions with fear of like what the answer. But I mean, he was always a good, like, I would have never, ni por aquí, you know, I would have ever thought.
She said the boy by the eyebrows.
Ni por aquí, hubiera pensado.
By the Frida Kahlo.
That you know, that I had an older brother. You know, he's a good dad. You know, he always come home. He always came home. He was always there for us.
Coming home's pretty good, because sometimes they go for milk and they don't come back.
Well, he always came home. You know, he was always there. And
hey, did you say your dad was coming back? Let's go get milk.
Yeah, no, so I don't know. I mean, he had to do what he had to do, I guess, to, at the end of the day, to protect himself. Oh my God.
Oh my Lord.
No, pero
Clip that.
So, like, when you meet him, are you gonna like, obviously, as Maxine, we're like, oh, hi, we do the kiss, or you can be like, hello.
No, I mean, I talked to him, and it was pretty. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it's. I don't know. Like,
You think it was a shock to him too? Like, do you think he knew, or?
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't know. That's why, you know, he's coming in June. He's at the end of May, beginning of June. So I'm excited for that.
Personally, I'd think it'd be kind of like crazy. Like, if he knew, it's probably like those motherfuckers, you know, in the cartoon jail where they're just like pumping iron and they just like see you and like, these guys got the love I didn't get.
No, I don't know. No, it sounded. I mean, it sounded legit.
Personally, I don't know, that's what I fear. I always just, because me and my brothers we're kind of jerks sometimes, and
Kind of.
so like, for me, like, if I were to know that somebody else is getting this love, not enough love to go around.
I don't know. We'll see when he comes.
That's just me, you know.
I don't know.
It's me being a boy.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
me being a boy, and then you being the oldest daughter. You know, obviously getting all the love.
Right.
You know, in the beginning. I don't know. It's just.
I don't know. It is. This is a little. I don't know. I never really thought about it like that. Actually, now that you say about
He
it.
was like, you know what? Maybe he's not. Maybe I should cancel his flight.
Didn't I tell you that the other day? You know, like, it's like Shane was like, well, how do you think he feels? Like, you know, like he's like, whether you guys are on board of meeting him or not, or whether you guys say like, well, you know, whether it's positive or good, negative on how you think of like meeting him or even knowing about, you know, knowing about him. I was telling you, I was like, don't you think he feels like, oh, you know, instead of you guys having a grudge or me having a grudge against you guys, like, don't you think your dad gave you guys the love that I didn't get? You know?
I guess I don't want to be a hypocrite, I guess, and be like, you know, like.
He was on that.
I got all, you know, he was in the shit end of the stick, and I was in the receiving end, I guess. Like, I was receiving all the love.
Well, that's why I asked, because,
Yeah,
you know, sometimes when you're a kid and, you know, your dad's being, or, you know, any parent is being, you know, a parent to you, and you feel like they're being you know, an asshole or whatever. You're like, hate it here, gotta go. You know, I'm gonna fucking run away. Run away. So it's like,
I was like,
Jesus Christ, I can't.
but you know, like all that shit, it has to be like taken into consideration because this is, what do you say? He's 40 something.
Yeah, he's 42.
So
like 6 or 7 years older than me.
Yeah, he was 6.
Yeah, my swigger was consistent. He has his kids are all 7 years apart.
he's consistent, and I feel like it's gonna be a full circle is gonna come into fruition. Like it's gonna be good, or maybe it's gonna be bad. But at least now you'll know for sure.
You'll know what it is instead of being in the void or trying to like figure out.
Yeah, like I told him, you know, when I talked to him on the phone that, you know, he's welcome, you know, and I'm just talking for myself, you know, because I can't talk for my siblings.
Yeah.
But as an older sister, I guess
But now for the family parties, like, what's that gonna be like?
I don't know.
We're just gonna have people from Cali come.
Yeah, we just have people from Cali.
Because essentially,
from Cali.
you know,
Get
regardless
that Cali Kush.
regardless of how, you know, Edith, Freddie, and Judith feel, you know, that's the fact of the matter is that's always going to be their bigger, you know, older brother. That's me coming from, you know, having half siblings. You know, like I have my older sister and then my brother, but then you know, my mom has, you know, kids with my stepdad. My dad has kids, you know, my stepmom. You know, I know how it feels having half siblings.
Yeah.
And you know, like I talked to her about it, and I was saying, you know, like you guys can't judge him. You guys can't, you know.
Even when your stepdad brought his daughter over, and it was crazy, you know.
Oh, this is not even this is not even step kid. This is half siblings because they are siblings. Step child is like when
we're doing a step. So like even all of that was kind of crazy. But you know what? Honestly, we all played together. We, you know, as kids, we embraced each other. But it's crazy, like, to think about it as adults. Like, do we act like adults, or are we gonna go back to our primitive ways of being like little jerks and be like, hey, these, you know, like I don't know, I don't know what to say about it. You know, this is my story, and like I said, when I honestly think also that maybe I do have siblings out there. What was your mom's reaction? Did she know from the beginning?
No, my mom found out at the same time I did. My mom she's lo que no fue en mi año no me hace daño.
Oh, my mother-in-law is a saint. Oh, fucking love her.
That's what she said.
Like,
She said, lo que no fue en mi año no me hace daño. She was just more like, you know, why didn't you tell me? You know, I would have.
Can't believe it.
I would have never. You know, my mom would have never. She would have never like been. You know, she would have been accepting. You know, and just like she is now. You know, she basically said, she goes, well, lo que no fue en mi año no me hace daño, and.
But now that it's gonna be the año where she meets him, if she meets him.
She's ready. Yeah, she's ready to meet him.
she doesn't like him. She told me to fucking.
No, she
meet him. No,
didn't.
just
No,
She gave me the green light.
She's been married with my dad for 36 years. My dad has not been a walk in the park. But so at this point, she's
Nombre
just
del rancho.
so at this point, he's just, you know.
Los hombres del rancho aren't easy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why? What rancho are you from?
Guerrero.
Yeah, see? They ain't easy.
El pueblo. Nobody think got ranchos.
Por allá por Teloloapan. Yeah.
So don't tell them exactly because
Yeah, no. So I don't know. It's just. It is crazy. It is.
do you think like him saying was out of guilt, or where did that come from?
He did say when I asked him, I'm like, why now, and he was, he said it could be because of the age, it could be he was just basically waiting for the time where either he starts looking for his son or his son starts looking for him.
Well, not all, you and your siblings all have kids now, so maybe like he's like, oh, maybe now's the time, but it's like.
Yeah.
But maybe he was a grandpa even before you knew, and you.
Oh yeah.
So like even that, like I think that would be like, oh, my kid's the first one. I was like, nope.
No,
he wasn't.
Yeah, for real.
I was telling her, like when we were talking, I was like, I know, like I know my father-in-law. I've met, I've known him for so long. I knew he didn't think, oh, this is never gonna happen. It's just about when is it gonna happen?
Yeah.
He knew in his mind, eventually everything's gonna pop out because, as much as you try to keep your skeletons in the closet, everything comes out eventually.
But hopefully that wasn't like a health scare or anything that you think that he'd be coming out because of he may know that his time is coming. But would you say any of that? Like, what would you even say to that? Like, oh, something's wrong with my dad? Because, like I said, I have a few uncles, and or even other people that have bad health, and all of a sudden they want to come out with this, or maybe they want to go out more just because they want to get some more stuff out their chest. Like,
Well, it must be a big weight to carry all that, even just
X amount of years.
Yeah. And then like how you said, even health-wise, like, yeah, my father-in-law hasn't had the healthiest life, drinking, smoking, working, breaking his back, for years on
Busting
end.
ass,
trying to take care of, not only trying to take care of the family here, but like having all this, and like, of course it has to weigh on him. And there's times like, I'm sure he wants to like just explode and let everything on the, lay everything out on the table, but as men, hombres del rancho, that's not something that you really do. You kind of like bottle everything up, and we're taught to bottle everything
like you
up.
said, men from El Rancho, that shit's built on trust.
But they're also taught to bottle everything up.
Yeah,
You're not supposed
hearing that, do you feel like the trust is still there? Like, what else could he be hiding? Or?
Oh no, I know my dad is a book of mysteries. He's
a chamber of secrets.
Yeah, definitely.
Wizard Harry.
I mean, I don't judge him because I always, he made a big point a few years back. He really didn't have that guidance of, although I know he had his dad, but back in the day.
Your dad.
Yeah, my dad had
Your
his
dad,
dad,
okay.
but back in the day, he was my grandpa traveled a lot. He had, he had work in different places, so he wasn't really there for my dad. Growing up, he didn't have that guidance, so my dad kind of took it upon the streets. Then the streets taught him what he knows, how to survive.
Which is crazy because not a lot of kids now have their dad and or any father figure, and even then, like even if they had a father figure, like my dad was still in the picture, and I didn't see him in the afternoon because he worked in the afternoon, so I looked to guidance to my uncles, my cousins, my abuelita, like all the strong mother figures. A lot of the times I would spend time at Isaiah's house, and seeing his mom or his stepdad, and even though it was different to me now as an adult and somebody older, like back in the day, you're like, oh no, I would always go over and we'd always be fucking cleaning and shit, like, and now I'm like, oh yeah,
It makes sense.
it makes sense. Nobody wants a fucking dirty house.
It's like, and I don't want my kids having their friends over, messing up my house and shit.
Eat my food. I mean, obviously you're speaking for yourself, but hopefully it's something that you guys can build on as far as trust and a new tradition. I don't know. Like you said, you're a mother and a father of a teenage boy now. His birthday was just
Today.
Today.
Yeah.
16 years old.
So seeing yourself as a 16-year-old kid, you guys had Junior as a teenager as well. So like all this stuff. I don't know. It just makes you think as parenting definitely different. I would say. I don't know. Like I don't know. It's you guys. It's you guys, not me.
Yeah, no, it's like obviously, they know that they have an uncle, and I feel like they look to me to see my reaction. Whatever my reaction is what they would go with it, and I want to, sometimes I want to teach my kids is, as parents, we make mistakes, and we're not perfect. My dad is not perfect, and
who is? Nobody's perfect.
And I'm not gonna sit here and judge him for
something that happened years and years and years ago.
It's not my place to judge, and maybe my older brother, feel maybe I give him more the right for him to be like, he was the one and the. He was the
short
one,
on a stick.
Right, he was the one who saw his dad leave. At 6-year-old, you still remember how your dad and how they were with you. So I mean,
maybe he thought also like maybe it was me. What did I do?
Right.
Because you think of that stuff. What happens to like parents now? Really, even the kids always take the blame, and it's like for that long, it's like
because although and I mean this will open another can of worms. But,
can of corn?
Who knows what my brother went through, because although I did have my young I did have my father and my mother there, that didn't stop me from being sexually assaulted when I was growing up. So it did always just push myself like, imagine, I had both my parents and I went through what I went through. I can only imagine what he went through when he, my dad wasn't there to protect him.
True.
So.
Wait, that's a story that you don't know because maybe there was something.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. That's a story I don't know, and I'm willing to. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't sit here and be like, oh, I don't want to meet him, or I don't want. No, I do. I want to tell him that there is love over here, and he, they're, welcome. My family just got bigger, and.
Well, hopefully he subscribes to this YouTube channel. What a bitch party, baby. Give it a like, subscribe.
Like and subscribe, please.
But gotta put that in there. But maybe he will, and then later on he will see that there is, like you said, love on the other side of the spectrum, because that's what it is. It's just people don't know. People just, even as myself, if I don't know, I make up these absurdly crazy scenarios in my head, and that's what people do now. That's why people get so depressed and stressed. Like, oh, this person put a exclamation point at the end of their text, like they might be mad at me, or things like that. But
me?
Yeah.
That's why I always call him when his message looks a little weird. What did you mean? And he'd be like, what? I'm like, you
how did
added
you
an
read it?
exclamation mark.
It all turns- How did you read that?
Maybe he was yelling because he was from far away. You know.
Maybe he was texting from far away from his phone.
So like I don't know. Just like that story is just. I think it's gonna hit a lot of people's heartstrings just because. More than likely, it's happened to everybody, and
Yeah.
I feel like people should open up about it more and get in contact or try to get in contact.
And this is not like bashing my dad, you know. It's not at all. You know, I don't
Not
ever
him as a
want-
person. He's a good person. I've met him.
He's a good
you know.
man, and I love him. And you know, from the beginning, you know, he's not his mistakes that he did. You know, only he knows, you know, why he did, and I'm just glad he told us now before it was too late. You know, who knows? You know, like, you know, you never know. Like at funerals when they're passed, the next thing you know, there's someone. Hey, that's, you know, my father, and we're like, what? You know, so at least
It's like at a death at a funeral when you find out, you know, your father is gay. I watch a lot of movies.
okay.
You just never know. You just never know.
Yeah, no. So I don't know. Just,
I just like I said, I just can't fathom because you've known about it for a year, and even then, just me trying to think about it, I couldn't picture myself me thinking about it, but because I don't have like a relationship like that where I see my dad every here and there, like he doesn't know my kids or this and that, so it's like, do I give him the respect of a human to be like, oh yeah, let me just fucking treat you, let me dap you up and right to my crib and let's meet up, or it's like literally what happened to us happened to him, but just in a different timeline. And it's like I said, the story of the secret brother, the secret sibling, or anything like that. It's crazy, but.
yeah, I honestly, like for a long time, I just feel like maybe I'm holding my anger against the wrong people. Maybe, I don't know. I can't still let go of the fact that everybody knew in my family.
I didn't know.
Cousins that I grew up with, cousins that slept over my house, cousins that we opened, you know, the doors when my aunt was having.
Those are the motherfuckers you don't trust.
When my aunt was going through her marital problems with my uncle, you know, we opened the doors to her house more than once, you know, and you know, I'm not saying, you know, it wasn't maybe, you know, their story to tell, right? It was my dad's, you know, my dad's responsibility to tell his family. It's like, hey, si ellas no le dicen, pues yo no voy a decir nada. You know, that the secret that everyone just carries on.
Yeah, but it's not also something.
Is it the secret or is it the lie?
But it's also something that's like something that you weren't really like readily aware. So it's like you weren't asking, you weren't prying. So it's like, if they don't care.
Right, para
It's
qué
like
vamos a decir algo si nadie sabe nada, kind of.
It's like the song,
Your
if you don't give
dad
it,
always
we don't
joked
give
around
a-
about that. He always joked around.
But everybody
Oh, you
jokes
have-
around.
Everyone, I always hear like, you know, and then actually, but this time it was actually, there was a little truth behind that joke.
I don't know. There's a lot of truth behind that. Not a little. There's a
Yeah.
lot of truth behind that.
Overall, like, would you say that the older grandkids, like your kids, would you say that they would be like, they're cool with it, or?
I feel like at the end of the day, they just look at like how I act. Like, I feel like if I'm cool with it, then they're gonna be cool with it. They trust my judgment in regards to what I want to do next.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
They're not like, don't do it, Mom, you know. And actually, when I was thinking of texting him, because I did send him a text first, my daughter was like, do it, Mom, you know,
He's like, sorry, wrong number.
the worst that could happen is he doesn't reply, you know, and
He leaves you on red.
yes. You know, so.
The chat went from blue to green.
Yeah, so I mean, but no, that wasn't the case actually. His answered, so I feel like maybe, you know, it's, if I felt like, you know, I'm the one trying and he's not, you know, but then I'd be like, okay. But in this instance, I feel like I'm trying and he's answering as well. So
Seems like you're both trying.
we're both.
So it's a good conversation.
Yeah, we're both, trying to get past that like awkwardness, like,
A lot of awkward silence. A lot of. So he knows that.
He's like, yeah,
See.
Yeah.
So you say that like he knows your kid's name, and do you know his kid's name? Or?
No, I don't think he knows like my kid's name or anything like that. But I did tell him, I had 4 kids, and he did tell me
He's like 4 kids.
he has 4
Shit.
kids too. So so yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. It's on the side of everything, the stress, and I'm just more excited on getting to know him, and I can't dwell on the past.
So you
be
think
like,
now you guys are gonna grow as a family better? Like
hope so.
like he's invited
to the quinceañera?
we'll see after he gets here.
Yeah, we'll see.
He's like you're he's like
He could be cool as hell when he gets here, or it could be the complete opposite. He could be a complete asshole, and
dickweed.
we don't know.
No, yeah.
It's like.
And I'm pretty sure
baby
he's
steps.
thinking the same thing too.
He's like, all these
probably
people
like,
can be cool, or they're fucking ignorant assholes.
Están bien nacos a la
Se
jerga.
creen mucho because they're over there.
I don't know.
Who knows? We don't know what's
They're wearing
in his head.
sunglasses inside.
They wear sunglasses to podcasts. Yeah, we don't know what he thinks. We don't know what he,
It's
how.
crazy.
All we know is this puro califa love over there. Then.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm excited, and
I don't know, because if we're cool, then I got another reason to go to Cali. Fucking someone to
hang out.
show me around.
Yeah, that's.
I've always wanted to go to Cali.
Yeah. I love that. He's super.
Positive.
So he's,
You gotta be on the positive side.
When I first
Well,
told him,
whether it's positive or negative, I'm like I said, I'm gonna take it how it comes. If it's a negative, we'll deal with it how we have to deal with
he's
it.
been
But
really
if it's
supportive.
positive, cool. I get to go to
That's
Cali.
good.
He
I got
definitely has
somewhere
my back, and he's like, whatever you want to do. The big thing he just
He's
wanted to
like,
avoid is
we
me
let-
getting hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Whoever wants to see their wife, their significant other
Yeah.
get hurt
He was-
or heartbroken or something that they like everybody in their when they're younger
He
years
did prepare me to.
have a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Even fairy tale wedding, fairy tale quinceañera, fairy tale, this and that. But it's like if you have someone that's going to support you, father, mother, brother, sibling, like to someone to fall back on and just be like, you know what, it's okay.
Yeah, no, he was definitely like, okay, you can contact him, but you have to be real. It could either go A or
Bad
it can
real.
go B. And it's but I'll stand behind you and whatever you decide to do. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna message him, or I'm gonna call him, So, and those 2 things they did bring positive outcomes. So I'm just, I guess now I feel like now that we're talking about it more, and I'm like, I haven't really asked my siblings, like my sister and my brother, like, hey, how do you guys feel about me taking the initiation of talking to him?
Well, yeah, but they're also like newly parents. Also, like definitely have
They have a
little
lot on
kids.
their plate.
So it's like maybe they're not thinking of it as much, but like me as I'm the youngest of 5, and when I think about this stuff, I'm like I said, I always feel like I get the shorter end of the stick, or I don't have too much of a say. But now as I'm an adult, like.
You're like, I'm not at the kids' table anymore. I'm at the fucking.
Yeah, like, so that's.
Come out with your razor and go, hi, I'm a man. I shave.
I wipe my own ass. But I don't know. It's good to definitely put that out there, because the more you dwell on it, the more you think about it, the more you don't think about it or talk about it freely, you're not really getting out there.
It eats you up. It definitely does. There's a lot of stuff in my life that's happened that I used to not be like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. They're gonna ask questions, and now I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna talk about it because it could have happened to you.
I think that's the narrative nowadays. Like, I think there's a lot of Instagram or Facebook or I don't know, whatever else social media there is, and everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna just cut you off. You can't just cut people off. You have to learn whether it's gonna benefit, not even benefit, just something that's gonna, where you feel like you do somewhat need it in your life, but you have to not cope, I'm not saying take shit, pero like realize that maybe what you're mad about isn't such a big deal because there's other things out there. Like for me to
Got to be the bigger person. I think that's also what in our life, like us growing up, we're always kind of like the younger ones, like we're always hanging out with the bigger kids. We always wanted to hang out with the older, like your older brothers, the older cousins, the older.
everyone else be cool.
Everybody always, instead of not trying to be your own age and trying to do things that, as a kid, but like you're always looking. I want to do what the older ones are, doing. I want to hang out with the older kids because it seems like it's more interesting than what the hell, my little mind, creates up. Like I always thought my older cousins were doing, cooler shit than what I even thought about. Like I always wanted to hang out or even shadow what my cousins were doing.
Yeah, that's how I was. That's how I was with you and like you said, the older cousins. And
it's like you were trying to follow what I was doing, and then I was trying to follow what my older cousins were doing. Like it just.
It's a big cycle that I think that, acting or not, like that's what's happening. So everything comes to full fruition, but like you were saying, and I didn't want to circle back to it, but like you said, you have a 16-year-old, and what I wanted to bring up was like, what do you think about the whole how back in the day where kids. When we were kids, we want to be adults and rush to be an adult, but now you feel like kids just want to be kids now?
No, I in this aspect, it's the same thing. It's like kids, it's just a different time. Kids trying to be adults without having that adult responsibility. It's the same thing as growing up when we were kids. We wanted to have that adult freedom, but without the adult responsibilities. We don't want to pay rent. We don't want to pay bills. We just wanted to have the fun that we thought the adults were having.
Yeah, like
the freedom of not being, more or less told what to do. It was like we could
I just
do.
wanted to drive and be out past X amount of time.
Mm-hmm. And it's not even about being out to a certain it's because you're out and no one's telling you anything. It's like me being an adult now. It's like shit. I wish I could be a kid again because it was so much easier. Like we were so ignorant to the fact of like I said, how I've said it is like we want the adult freedom, but none of the adult responsibilities.
But right now, I guess the key word is infantilization or whatever. Like I said, we wanted to be older, but now kids, we wanted to be 23, 24, and now the kids that are 23, 24, they just want to stay at their parents' crib and this and that. Like,
go sit on the couch with your movie?
what do you, I don't know, it bothers me, because as a kid, I felt like I had to.
Well, it's not even like those kids, those people who like I said, I had kids young, so I had to grow up real quick. Like I didn't have that luxury. Like I didn't have the luxury of just staying at my parents' house and not doing shit and playing video games all fucking day. Like I had to get to work because I have a kid that relies on me. I have kids. At 19 I had Junior. At 21 I had Alani. At 23 I had Gati. Like I'm 23 years old with 3 kids. Like I didn't have the luxury just to stay at my parents' house and not do nothing.
People at 25 still don't know what kind of cereal to get because usually their parents get it. So it's a really big thing right now, and something I just want to bring up because, like I said, there's older kids out there in their 20s. They're not even kids; they're adults. There's young adults that still want to be kids, and there's kids that want to be adults, and us that had to grow up so quick, and that's crazy. Like when I'm assuming that when your dad had the son, he was
18.
Yeah, he was a kid.
Yeah.
So it's like realize that there's
camera right there.
Realize that you guys when you were 18, you were like, oh shit, I gotta echarle ganas.
No, I couldn't just like I said, I couldn't sit down. Like my parents and her parents weren't gonna take care of our kid. They were gonna take care of Junior. they helped us as much as they could, but like
I mean, we were
us
young.
being teen parents, we had to grow up real quick.
Yeah,
you know,
like
we
literally
didn't
the first 3
like
days.
that's like I don't understand like people without kids, like how like I understand it's hard to try to figure out what you want to do, what you're supposed to do, or how to even take care of yourself. But like imagine if you're in that same boat, but you got kids,
And also,
like,
and it depends. Like for example, like us. I mean, we were 17, 18 when we.
Well, there's also
started.
like people that have younger, which
yeah.
there's no downgrade to them. Like they're still figuring life out.
Yeah.
They're literally figuring.
well, no, that's just kids having kids, and that's like there's no.
Yeah. For example, like us, when we first found out we were pregnant for the first week, we were sleeping on a concrete floor in the basement. We didn't know how we were gonna get to school. We didn't know. We just knew.
It's like, was I getting free lunch still?
Yeah, like we just
Is
knew
my
that our
kid-
parents. My dad had
Did
kicked
my mom
me
sign
out.
up for free lunch?
My dad had kicked me out, and he had left his home, so we were sleeping on the floor in the basement, trying to figure out what was our next move. And I always say like bless my mom because she was the one who was very adamant that we were gonna finish high school.
Yeah, that's
He
good.
was like, you're gonna, Isaiah's the best gift that you can give your kids is at least graduate, and she made it literally every single morning. She drove us to school and she picked us up, and I always say thank her for her because I don't know where we would be. I'm sure we would still try to work as hard, but I don't know, maybe we had different cards dealt.
Thanks all the moms out there, but also thank all the dads out there.
Yes.
No, nobody really gives the
No,
dads.
you know what? My dad was the one who was working to be able to provide for
But
us.
for the dads that are working,
Yeah.
let's give them some props. 'Cause
No, he was
I know my
working.
primo over here fucking bust ass.
Every
So,
day. Yeah.
but that's kind of what I wanted to do is like a full fruition, like what happened as when your dad was a kid, but also kind of bringing it back to like how you were kids and you're like, oh shit, like it's a lot of stuff, and especially because we're not in Mexico, we don't know their situation, but you also know the situation is like it's like almost like panic mode, but all you know is to take care of the kids. Maybe the best choice for your brother was to go a different way. I don't know, like I said, I don't know, but like
I like to think that he's just like us, and we're just in survival mode. We're just, like from where we were when we had Junior to where we are now. Obviously, it's a big difference, and we've grown. But like, even him, like in the situations that he was put to the situations now. I mean, I'm sure he has kids of all, I'm not sure his kids' ages, but having to be in that survival and take care of them, being the dad almost feels like I said, you're in survival mode.
We're being a father without having your father figure there to guide you.
Being the father that
You didn't have.
weren't taught how to be a father, how to be, shit. Sometimes we don't even know how to be kids. We're just fucking doing a bunch of dumb stuff. We don't even know what we're doing most of the time.
a lot of the times it's just trial by error.
That's all it is. Parenting is trial and error. That's all
So
it is.
for all the parents out there feeling bad or feeling that they're tired and not all this stuff, we're all trying. You're doing your best, and that's all that matters. But
As always, we take, and the little motto that we have in our family is "Con Dios todo, sin Dios nada," and it's always that I tell my kids all the time.
I like to tell myself, nací guapo, pero no milenario.
Ricos solo mis besos.
Mis besitos.
No, but I think of Debo every time I fucking wake up. Stop being a bitch and come on, fucking do this.
But
That's what motivates me. It's like I love you, Debo.
R.I.P. Anyways, I'd like to say thank you for opening up and telling everybody your story. It's a lot of times really hard for anybody to tell that side of the story, and honestly, for it to be on a public broadcast, like it's hard. But the more you say it, the more that you think about it, and the more that you're gonna understand, like, hey, this is what happened, and we're gonna have to deal with it regardless. Everybody has their own prerogative, but you're taking it head on, and you're taking it with a partner that has your back, physically, mentally, or whatever. He comes out incorrect. You know, your man's in a
Be there for me at the end of the day.
yeah. So it's cool. You know, nobody's gonna take away the fact that you were older sister for X amount of years. And hopefully he doesn't take away the, you know, all the stuff that you did. You know, maybe he wants to be filled in, like, oh, you know, he's my little brother. You know, he's gonna give him a little coxon.
Yeah, literally.
It's a noogie or a wedgie here and there.
But thank you for telling your story. Thank you, Isaiah, for
Chiming in here and there.
chiming in here and there.
Like and
Time.
subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Next episode, stay tuned. We got other really good interviews going on. But
Yeah.
thanks for
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, literally. Let me just finish this off and let's go.